I'm very happy to be included in this discussion. I agree with everything that has been said, and the people that have said it are far more articulate than me. But I will share some of my thoughts for the roughly 5 minutes that you suggested. Uh, I was born 80 years ago, and every one of those years, there has been a reminder to the world that the horrors of the Holocaust can never again be repeated. And the world has been in agreement. That message has been repeated with movies and books and newspapers and magazines and powerful statements. But here we are 80 years later. And the right-wing Zionist government in Israel every day shows more commonality with the Nationalist Socialist Party of Germany 80 years ago. This is a fascistic government bent on eliminating an entire people that they see as a threat or simply see as an opportunity whose land they can take to expand their geographic, political, and economic strength. And yet, after 80 years of being reminded that what happened to the Jewish people by the Nazis 80 years ago, we are allowing it to be repeated. Because this is about human nature, not just about Jewish people or Palestinians or Muslims or Christians, whatever. And the community of the world, just like us, each of us individually, we have a good side and a bad side. They're always in conflict. And yet, when the good people of the world choose to turn a blind eye, to pretend that this has nothing to do with them, then this kind of evil that is taking place in Palestine will be allowed to continue. I do agree that the United States is particularly responsible for this because we have provided the funding, much of the arms, military equipment, and the political cover to allow this right-wing government of Israel to take the land and eliminate the lives of the Palestinian people, the vast majority of whom that have been killed are women and children. Another thing, though, that has happened over the last 80 years, which is relevant to your question, do the sanctions make sense, is that Europe as a whole has deferred to the United States, has allowed the United States to really dominate its economy, its politics, and, of course, its military capability. Europe has, in some ways, be seen as kind of a stepchild of the United States. That's got to stop. Europe has far more influence, power, and capability to change the direction of the world than it's willing to acknowledge. It was certainly a step in the right direction for the European Union to be formed, because now you've got a population that's roughly the same size as the United States, an economy that could be comparable, and a voice that has to be heard. Europe has to speak out, particularly when the United States is unwilling to for a number of reasons. Sanctions are a good step forward, but it's insufficient, as have some of the previous speakers said. Europe needs to rise to this occasion and recognize that what the the crimes that have been committed by Putin in invading another country, that same rule of law and morality should be applied elsewhere, wherever it exists. And it's certainly happening in the Middle East. The people doing this know what they're doing. A former prime minister of Israel, AOHR, just wrote an article in Haaretz this morning. It was published. He said, this is a war without purpose. It's a private political war. He's half right. On the part of Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, and their right-wing allies, it is a political war. It's their only opportunity to achieve this extremist vision that they have for a greater Israel. But it's not a war without purpose. Its purpose is to eliminate the Palestinian people, to take their land, and to convert that part of the Middle East into a greater, more powerful Israel. We cannot allow that to be done at the expense of 2.3 million people who have nowhere else to go. The vast majority of these people have done nothing wrong. They're being killed for the accident of their birth, being born in Palestine. So it's time for the rest of the world to speak up. And I don't want people to believe that this is some kind of conspiratorial war against Jewish people. The reality is, and I know many of you have watched what's happened on elite American university campuses over the last year or so, there have been protests. On those campuses, there's only a handful of Palestinian students. There's a disproportionate number of Jewish students and Jewish professors. They are the ones that are leading these protests, but you can't find that revealed in the American media. It's being squelched deliberately. There's a group called Jewish Voices for Peace, which is primarily professors and some of the best students at these universities who are speaking out against what is happening in Palestine. But you would never know because of disproportionate influence over the media. Those Jewish Voices for Peace and other people like the J Street Group and Peter Beinart and so on, they have a responsibility to, perhaps an even greater responsibility, to save the whole raison d'etre for Judaism that goes back to the Old Testament, Tikkun. You will be judged ultimately by how you treat the other. And obviously the Palestinians are the other, who have suffered under a regime of apartheid for far too long, since 1948 really, and treated as a different people, as a lesser people. That's just got to stop. It's wrong, it's evil. And yet, the rest of the world is allowing it to happen. Sanctions are a step forward, but Europe and the rest of the world has to speak out louder, more forcefully, and more insistently. And what is happening today, every day, is wrong, has to stop. And if we continue to be so apathetic, we are equally responsible. I think I've gone over my 5 minutes.
No, that was so
I'm just getting
insightful.
started. So.
And Mr. Moran, I have a quick question for you that you mentioned that the vast majority of protesters inside US campuses were Jewish and the Palestinians were minority. Well, I cannot figure out this. I mean, what do you want to say by this? I mean, what's the point behind this proportions?
Well, I think it's important to understand that there has been a manipulation within the Western media. For one thing, there was a strategy concocted by people within the Israeli government and by some of the particularly Zionist groups in the United States, that any opposition to the Gaza conflict, call it ethnic cleansing, whatever, any opposition should be called anti-Semitism. That's nonsense. It's not anti-Semitic to oppose genocide, to oppose the destruction of an entire group of people, of nearly 60,000, primarily women and children. That's not anti-Semitic. But the intent has been to suggest that people who oppose the war are really expressing a discrimination against Jewish people. And so the reason I'm saying this is that the reality is quite different. There are a lot of Jewish people in the United States and Europe who understand how wrong this is. They need to be part of the leadership to stop it. They are at least equally responsible. And I think particularly young Jewish people, they would agree with, most of them would agree with everything that has been said on this broadcast. But those voices are being suppressed. And so I'm trying to make clear that this is not about Jewish people. This is about saving humanity, about taking many of the ideas of the Enlightenment that was disproportionately expressed and written about by Jewish philosophers and thinkers, taking those ideas and applying them to what's happening today. It's also true that, history is almost, in many ways, it's a sequence of irony. Many of the people who are most extreme in the far-right Israeli government are not even Semitic people. They were East German Slavic people. Some were Khazars who have nothing to do with what happened with the Old Testament and so on. But people don't understand that. And I think that ignorance is being used as a strength on the part of the people who want to suppress the reality of what's taking place in Palestine and the reality of what this represents in the history of Western civilization.